Generation Zero has been out for 4 years, and since its release in 2019, it has seen a massive chunk of reviews. Anything from reviews on forums, Steam pages, loads of other stuff like that, and then YouTubers, all the way up to massive publications such as IGN. These reviews vary wildly, and it all depends on the time as well, so there's a lot of variables in there. But something that I haven't seen is a review from chatgpt. Is it something that could actually be a reputable source of information when buying a game? Is it good or is it bad? Will it work? Is it my playstyle? All of these things that you could get from a gameplay review and an actual publication. But can we get something like that from ChatGPT? I've put in hundreds if not thousands of hours into Generation Zero, so I wanted to see if ChatGPT could actually give me a decent review based on my experience with the game. So we're going to ask it whether the game is good. We're going to ask it to give us a good review, well, a review, and see what it comes up with. Now, if that sounds good to you, subscribe to the channel, drop a like on the video, and stick around for more Generation Zero content. And let me know what you think down in the comments below. Could using AI actually be a decent source and a reputable one to get yourself a game review? Now, first things first, I wanted to know where ChatGPT actually gets the information from. And according to Scribber, is it Scribber? I'm not 100% sure. ChatGPT was trained on a large body of text from a variety of sources, such as Wikipedia, books, news articles, and scientific journals. It's also important to understand that it doesn't access a database of facts to answer questions. Instead, its responses are based on patterns that it has seen in training data. So it is not always trustworthy and can usually answer general knowledge questions very accurately, but it can easily give misleading answers on more specialist topics. Another consequence of this generating responses is that ChatGPT can't cite its sources accurately. It doesn't know what source is based on any specific claim on. It's best to check information that you get from against a credible source. So I would say, the players of Generation Zero are a relatively credible source. So let me know what you think down in the comments below to ChatGPT's review. Let's have a little bit of a look and see what it says. So we asked and we got an answer. Generation Zero is a first-person action-adventure game developed and published by Avalanche Studios, released in 2019. The game is set in an open-world environment and offers both single-player, cooperative-player gameplay. It takes place in 1980s Sweden, where players must survive and unravel the mysteries behind a robot invasion. So, yeah, alright, that's cock on for the start. Now, let's see what it actually says about the game itself. Now, this is actually quite a big review, especially, let's say you were writing this on the Steam page or on a forum. There's some lengthy stuff in here, which is good. In terms of visuals and atmosphere, Generation Zero does an excellent job of capturing the unique setting of a rural Swedish landscape. The game features a beautiful and detailed world with realistic lighting and weather effects that contribute to the immersive experience. The abandoned towns, forests, and lakes create a sense of isolation and tension, which adds to the overall atmosphere of the game. Now, straight off the bat, that is 110% correct. The overall atmosphere and the visuals of Generation Zero are absolutely stunning. That is one of the best things about the game. It just looks beautiful. There's so much going on in every little area that you go to, and it is so immersive. The abandoned towns and forests and the lakes do create isolation and tension. When you're strolling through those big open villages that are sort of battered and torn, that really does make you feel uneasy, especially for the first time going through an area like that. And that is one of the beautiful things of the game. And so far, this is brilliant, and it is really on point. Now, the core gameplay revolves around exploration, scavenging for resources, and engaging in combat with hostile robots. The combat mechanics are decent, offering a variety of weapons and tools to take down enemies. However, the shooting mechanics sometimes feel clunky. The enemy AI is not always challenging or dynamic as one might hope. Additionally, the game can be quite difficult at times, especially when facing off larger and more powerful robot enemies. Now, this is where it seems to get a little bit skew-whiff, because combat mechanics are decent, and I myself haven't really had any clunky shooting. I think the actual firearms in the game and the overall shooting and combat experience is a relatively good one. I don't think it's very clunky. Now, when it does come to the enemy AI, that is right. It is not challenging or dynamic. especially when you get to the later game stages and you've got some decent weapons. I would love to see the machines sort of work together and sort of team up and play on you a little bit, and move around you, and use their environment to their advantage. But obviously they do not do that. But it also says that it can be quite difficult at times, especially when facing off against larger and more powerful robots. Which, obviously, there's a little bit of a contradiction there. I mean, it is true in some aspects, especially if you are a newer player. If you end up going over to the mainland, you're going to get your butt kicked. You're going to get your ass handed to you, and and that's just the way Generation Zero is. It is meant to be a little bit tough, especially if you change those difficulties. You can get some real tough gameplay out of it. But at the same time, you can also get some gameplay that is very dull and is definitely not challenging. So I do agree with some of that there. I think that's a really good way that they've done that. One of the unique aspects of Generation Zero is its emphasis on stealth and strategic gameplay. Players are encouraged to approach encounters tactically, utilising the environment and distractions to gain the advantage. This adds a layer of depth and planning to the gameplay, but may not appeal to players who prefer more fast-paced action. Now, once again, I disagree with that as well, but I agree with it. There is both very fast-paced action, which the game is not. I do agree with that. The game is not made for that fast-paced action. They do want to force you, once again, with the tactical equipment pack that is coming out, they want you to play with that playstyle. They want you to be tactical. They want you to be stealth and use strategy. If you are going out all gun-ho all the time, you're going to end up with an ammo deficit pretty much constantly. You're going to be running out of ammo, running out of meds, especially if you're not a quick player that is fast-paced and can get around those enemy shots a lot quicker than somebody that was, running like an absolute madman and still getting those shots on target, which can be really hard to do in Generation Zero, especially if there's multiple enemies around. But I do like that. I think that's actually very true. That depth and planning to the gameplay, like they've said, is, yes, you do. When you see an encounter, especially as a newer player, you do have to think to yourself, how can I do this? What's the best way to go in here and do it? What's the best way to sneak in, take out as many machines as possible, and get out without being injured? 100% I agree with that. And then next, one of the main criticisms of Generation Zero is its lack of a compelling narrative and meaningful quests. While the game sets up an intriguing premise, the story fails to deliver a satisfying conclusion or provide significant character development. Quests can feel repetitive and lack variety, which can lead to a sense of monotony over extended gameplay sessions. That, completely agree with. 100%. The storyline is okay, and it is fun, and the narrative is there, but I think they could have explained things a lot better. They could have had a lot more side missions that tie in and explain a lot more. So what they've done with it is a little bit meh. Obviously with those new DLCs, tying in, explaining just a little bit more of what's going on, I think was really good. But they are right, it can get a little bit dull over extended play sessions, especially if you're just going through that story element. There is a very, very big problem with repetitive quests. That is just go here, press a button, kill a machine, done. Whereas I do like some of the quests in game where you go, you explore an area, you find new things, and I think a lot more of that would have been better for the game. Next is the multiplayer aspect of Generation Zero. It is a notable highlight. Playing with friends can enhance the experience as you can strategize and cooperate to overcome challenging situations. Exploring the open world together and sharing resources can be enjoyable, especially when encountering larger enemy groups. Very true. Very, very true. What they don't mention is the crashing and some issues that you have with multiplayer. So I think that's fair, though. That is very fair. It is a good highlight of the game, and it is great to play with games. It's great to play with friends, sorry. So, yeah, brilliant. And then, finally, overall, Generation Zero offers a unique and atmospheric open-world experience set in a visually appealing Swedish landscape. The game's emphasis on stealth and tactical gameplay provides an interesting twist on the first-person shooter genre. However, its lackluster narrative, repetitive quests, and some gameplay mechanic issues prevent it from reaching its full potential. If you're a fan of open-world exploration and cooperative multiplayer, Generation Zero may be worth checking out, but it is recommended to approach with tempered expectations. That is... I think that's brilliant. It is missing a few things when it comes to the multiplayer aspect, but I don't know if it would talk about the bugs and stuff like that. But that's wicked. I couldn't agree with that anymore. That is brilliant. And yes, it is worth checking out, but with tempered expectations. Especially if you're going off the 2019 nostalgia and the way the storyline was back then and how the game played back then. If you've seen stuff from back then and you've not really seen much now and you've just come across, I don't know how it would work, how that would happen, but you come across an old trailer and think, wow, that looks really cool. And you bought it, it can go one of two ways. Wow, so much has been done, this is brilliant, or that's not what I was shown. That doesn't look like that anymore and I don't want to be a part of that. So I think that's brilliant. That is an absolutely wicked review from AI. I may do a few more of these from games that I'm covering, just because I find it really interesting, and I thought that was a really, really cool review. I have done a couple more, just had a little bit of a look at games that I play, not games that I've covered, and so far, it's on a good track. It looks really, really cool. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Do you think this has been a decent video? Are you interested in seeing more of these for different games? Let me know what you think. I've been Wide, you guys have been awesome, thank you for watching, and we'll see you very soon with some more Generation Zero.